I was always a good girl. Like, I was a great student. I was a good child. I just did the right thing. I became a great employee, all of the things, right? I was performing for the expectations of our society. Feminine magic to me is at its core the ability to both perceive beyond what is seen and to deliberately emote or express. I'm a very strong emoter. That's part of my feminine magic.
Alicia Corey, thank you so much for being here.
So excited to be here. Thank you, Jessa.
How does your journey lead you into creating something like the Labor of Love Retreat?
I had a pretty traumatic entry into motherhood. I had recently moved to Alaska with my husband. He was stationed there in the Coast Guard, and we were living on a remote island in Alaska. And we had been there for a few weeks, and we had no household goods. We were living in base housing with two camp chairs and an inflatable mattress. And our next door neighbors took pity on us and like moved an easy chair from their house into our living room. And so I had one comfortable place to sit. So I was 34 weeks pregnant, so 6 weeks before my due date, and my husband took his first flight um, completely out of range to the North Slope of Alaska to do a search and rescue training exercise with parajumpers. And I was supposed to go to dinner with some friends that evening, and I was getting ready for dinner, and I got out of the shower and I got dressed, and my water broke. Like, I was in complete shock, and I called him and I called the friends I was supposed to be meeting for dinner. I was like, "Hey, I'm not going to make it." And I walked to my next door neighbor's house and said, "Hey, like I think my water just broke. Can you please drive me to the hospital?" And because we were on a remote island, our hospital was a pretty small hospital, more of like a medical center with some facilities, but no NICU. So they monitored me really closely in the hospital. The friend who I was supposed to meet for dinner came to the hospital, and the neighbor came to the hospital, and they held my hands through birth because my husband did not make it back in time. And then I had this very tiny premature baby who was not in complete distress, but was definitely not fully cooked and needed some extra support. And so they had called a medevac airplane, and shortly after giving birth, like they put him on my chest for maybe a moment, but I don't even know if I got to hold him, honestly.
Oh,
Like
wow.
they like attended to what they were worried about his needs were, which is like a surfactant, undeveloped lungs. So like treating his lungs with a shot. And then they put him in the isolate, and they put him on the airplane and they flew him to Anchorage. So it was this like incredibly unexpected hard launch, I guess, into motherhood, in which my identity shifted like that. I was totally unprepared, and I had to immediately think about how I was going to keep this human alive, like that responsibility of mother. So I basically disassociated from myself because it was now all about this tiny human. And my husband did make it back in time to get on the medevac plane, so I was so grateful that he was with the baby. And he went to Anchorage. He and the baby went to Anchorage to the NICU, and like they gave me a sleeping pill, and it was lights out in the hospital. So I woke up the next morning, um, and told the nurse, I was like, "I need to get checked out." I bought a ticket to Anchorage. My friend had brought in a laptop, and I went straight from the hospital to the airport. I had someone else pack a bag for me, and I got on that plane and I flew to Anchorage, and like that was it. I was attending to the NICU, walking back and forth a mile each way from the hotel where we were staying to the hospital to go try and figure out what it was to be mother to this baby that was in the hospital. So that was kind of a crazy experience. And everyone was asking me, like my mom was asking me, like, "Are you okay? How are you handling it so well?" And it was just like I had no choice,
Mm.
It it was just like you just do, and I think women always do this, like, you just do what's in front of you. You do the thing that needs doing, and that's what it was. So, um, we were there for a couple of weeks while my son was in the NICU, and it was just a total blur, a strange situation, and, um, I mean, that's the long story of the birth experience, but when I got back to Kodiak where we were living and started having, like, a normal mom life, like, things felt normal again. Like, I adjusted into life as mother, and it took me at least 10 years to realize how much of myself I had lost in that process. Um, and I had to really deliberately re redevelop a relationship with myself and reconnect with who I was and hold space for the emotions that I had just pushed down so that I could function as a mom. And it was I had another baby, we moved to California, like, life seemed really fine, and all of a sudden, I was having these emotions that were coming out sideways, and I didn't know where it was coming from, and I I had, like, resentment and anger and all of these feelings that I didn't really know what they were about, so I had to, or I decided to, I guess, hold space for them, and as a mom, I think we feel guilty to feel anything negative about our mothering experience or our birth experience or about our lives in general as mothers. And I had to sit with all of those feelings, like the resentment, the grief, the guilt, the everything that I was feeling about having lost myself completely in becoming a mother. And then I also wasn't really sure if I had ever really known who I was in the first place.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. There's a lot there, and I'm curious about a lot of things. First of all, I'm curious about how what was your second birth like after having such a traumatic birth? But then also you mentioned you had realized that you lost yourself, and do you think it was because the birth was traumatic? Or do you think that becoming a mother, you would have lost yourself inevitably? Or have you always just been lost? Like, I know that's a
All of
lot,
the
but
no,
yeah.
all of the above, yeah. I'll start at the end and work my way back. I I do think in a sense I was always lost. I think partly because I was always a good girl, like, I was a great student, I was a good child. I never got grounded, I never got yelled at, like, I just
Mm.
did the right thing. I just did. And then I became a great employee and then, all of the things, right? So I was performing for the expectations of our society
Were
for
you a
all.
good wife too? Did
Oh,
that
of
play out in your
course I
marriage as well? Yeah.
that's so true, yeah. Definitely a good wife, right? Like, I
Yeah.
married someone in the military who had to be gone all the time.
Mm,
It was
yeah.
just like, I mean, I don't not have a spine, right? Like, we have equal equal power, and that's something that's so beautiful about our relationship is, like, we make a lot of space for, like, to flare up and to have real feelings and to have raw feelings and to raise voices and have that be something that we both hold space for to express what needs expressing and then move through it like goldfish. Boom, we're done. So it's actually very beautiful, and I did find a really strong equal partner. But yes, like, I also replicated those good wife things of especially in Alaska, just because it's I don't know, it's rural and we were remote, so it was like I was cooking all the time, baking cookies, baking soup, like, all of the things. I did jump right back to work, but I worked part-time for a really long time, until my youngest was 4, just to make sure that I could manage all the things and, still be mom. So, yes, I was a little bit always lost, and then the birth definitely changes all mothers, right? You shift your identity from who you are to mother. I think all mothers experience that. But it having happened so quickly, I think was like an extra layer of disassociation for me. And then also, I have since realized how sensitive I am
Mm.
and that I was probably always like part of that good girl thing was like, how can I make life easy for myself? Because I feel what everyone else is feeling. And so being the good girl enabled me to live harmoniously and not have to feel other people's rejection, disappointment, resentment, grief, whatever. It kept I felt good because I could control my environment feeling harmonious because I was experiencing everything that the people in my environment were also feeling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, how do you see that now? These patterns, this good girl archetype. I guess what's your relationship with it now?
I think the biggest shift has been like letting go of the guilt of not being the good fill in the blank. Allowing myself space to be all of those other things that we don't really accept, like feeling anger, feeling resentment, feeling any quote unquote negative emotion, prioritizing myself, making time for the things that I need, recognizing what my needs are. Um, so I definitely have a much healthier relationship with it, and I would say I'm still a good employee and I'm still a good wife. There's also I've recognized some satisfaction for me in that. Like, I get really a lot of satisfaction out of job well done, out of creating a harmonious environment in my work. That feels good to me, and so, eh
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't shut it all down because I recognize that part of it is actually me,
Yeah.
beyond the conditioning, which is still there.
I guess the key is to not abandon yourself, right? If you're doing all of that and you're connected with yourself and you're staying true to yourself, then I don't see any issue with that. The issue is most women are abandoning themselves to show up in these roles.
Perfect words. It's so true. Yes,
Yeah.
self-abandonment, I think, is a real struggle for so many women, um, for the sake of whatever is the thing that they feel needs their attention the most, whatever that
Yeah.
is. Mhm.
So this labor of love retreat that you're hosting, I think it's in September, right?
Yes, it is
So
Labor
ha-
Day weekend, yes.
oh duh. Labor of love. It's encoded within the name. How did you like so what is it and what inspired you to do that now?
I had basically been down the internet rabbit hole of so many different healing practices, and I found so many things that were valuable and useful to me. I took so many courses and gathered, so many tools and practices, and I just had this like amassed all of these little things that had helped me along my way. And I also found that I really enjoyed holding space for people. And like how I had learned to make room for myself, I also was able to do for others. And so all of these things were there. And then I also, in my professional life, am a corporate change consultant. So I facilitate transformational change for individuals and corporations. And so, like, all of these pieces came together to be like, why don't I just facilitate this thing? And I found this incredible space that made it easy because it's a beautiful property in the wine country in Northern California where they have a kitchen, they have a chef, they have cute little cabins. So, like, you don't have to figure out lodging, you don't have to figure out meals and catering. It's just all in one. And you just tell them how many people and you make it happen. So it came together beautifully in all of that. And then I also have a couple of friends that were interested in providing their services and their expertise in yoga and Pilates for
Mm.
like rapid movement practices that really go along with it. So that's how it
S
all came together.
What are you gonna be doing there? Are you holding anything specific? Like, what is your role in that?
My role is definitely the primary facilitator. So I will be leading the entire weekend's
Mm.
events and then like pulling in the other activities where they fit in. And doing that through a theme of like going through the four elements. So, like helping the women who attend go through a really smooth flow of like coming together in a circle, getting grounded, having some playful movement. Like, we're going to do a dance party the first night. I'm excited for that. And then on the first morning, waking up and then moving into the water, right? And so making space for emotions, doing some somatic practices, some gentle yin yoga, like getting deep.
Mm,
And I've found that both in my personal and my professional life, I've learned that truth emerges when you create safety. And so, like, it's so important to me that this be a safe space for the women that attend, and specifically within this part of the weekend to create such a sense of nourishment and safety that women can reconnect with those parts of themselves that they have shunned or pushed down the way I did. And then sort of we once we've gone deep, then it lights up again, like, we don't wanna stay in the in the depths. I want it to be fun too, and so then there'll be a fire theme where we start working on our inspiration and our sparks and things maybe that we wanna release, do a little fire ceremony, another dance party, um, and then the last day goes into the air theme where we're really working on clarity, next
mm,
steps. One thing that I recognize about myself, and I think other women like me who might want to attend, is that sometimes we feel like we need a permission slip to make this time for ourselves or to prioritize ourselves. So it was really important to me to offer like concrete tools and takeaways. Like, I use AI a ton for both personal reflection and my own like therapy and also in my work. And I want to be able to share what I've learned and what I've
mm,
developed there with people. And if they don't like AI, then there's a journal prompt version, right?
mm,
So, like, sheets, tools, next steps, strategic plans, all of these things that I do in my professional work, I want to make available to the women in the retreat so that they leave with something very clear that they can take away
mm,
and reintegrate into their life and not just be like, well, that was a fun weekend. And if that's what you need, that's fine too.
mm.
But there's an offer of something more.
Yeah, to make it tangible.
Yes.
I love that. I love that you incorporate the elements. I think when you get women together and you bring in the elements, it's just so powerful.
It really is. I'm excited for it.
You said, and I wrote this down because I loved it. You said truth emerges when you create safety. Can you share more about that? Or is there anything else that you can say on that or expand on?
Yeah. This is something that I actually learned more in a corporate environment. I was
Ooh,
in a
okay. I have questions
role.
about that too,
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
Okay,
I was in a
sorry.
very corporate role, a very conservative company. And we had what were called employee resource groups. So, like, little groups of employees that championed the experiences and the needs of certain sects of employees. So it was like, there was the Black Employee Network and there was the Women's Empowerment, I forget what it was called, group, but I led the Disability Inclusion Alliance because I am a mother to a child who is disabled. And that was a whole other piece of like learning and cracking myself open and vulnerability, right? To not to acknowledge that, but to, like, to navigate that, being a working mom also with heavier demands at home and a husband who has gone a lot. Um, but I, through that experience, created this bubble of safety within this corporate environment where other employees who either had disabilities or were in caregiving roles for family members or loved ones with disabilities truly had the space to express what their challenges and their needs are, and also like strategies and tools and things that they had learned that had helped them. And that was so powerful of a thing to create in this unexpected place, um, that that was something that I carried with me that I wanted to do again.
That is really beautiful that you brought that in. And it's interesting because I was just having this conversation with somebody. I interviewed someone and it was about we were talking about the dark feminine mainly, but I had asked her a question. I said, "Do you think it's possible to," I forget exactly what I said, but basically like, can you stay connected as a woman, can you stay connected to yourself and your cyclical intelligence in a corporate structure? And I said, I don't think you can. And
Mhm.
you're challenging this for me right now, which I love.
That is an
Because you're, like, firsthand bringing some kind of, like you're, like, bringing a space that normally we would not see in this corporate world, and it's like yeah, I guess you're challenging the structure a bit, or do you like, I don't know, because sometimes I'm like, do you I don't know, this is a big question, and I have so many different things popping up for me, but that's probably not where I wanna segue to because it opens up another huge dilemma, but I'll just hear your thoughts on that.
I get it, right? There's so much to unpack. I will one more thing on the safety. I will just say that the safety and the truth before I lose this thread.
Mhm.
The microcosm, like that was like the first time where it was so obvious and clear to me and in such a beautiful way. But then I realized that it was the same for myself as I was reconnecting to myself and building a relationship with myself. I had to create spaces for safety, truly just in my own world and like private spaces where I could connect with those parts of myself that I had shunned. And for me, safe meant alone where I could feel the ugly emotions. So that, like, reinforced it for me how critical and important that was, and that's also something that's part of the retreat practices, but I wanted to finish that thought. But in the corporate world, yes, like, I am a sensitive being, I am ultra intuitive, and what I've learned is that, like, my femininity is what has made me so good at my job, and it makes me stand out above other people who do what I do because I know exactly when to reach out to somebody and how, and I encode emails with love. Like, I literally, like, send things with little energetic packages, like and I have a very high response rate to cold engagement. Like, when you're influencing
Interesting.
people and trying to get them to do the thing, um, like, it's a really powerful tool.
Huh.
But I have to believe in what the thing that I'm convincing people to do, like, there's no
Yeah.
right? It's not just for the sake of, like, this is the thing. It has to be something that aligns with my truth.
So then what I'm hearing is you care about what you're doing. Like it sounds genuinely meaningful to you?
It is. There are things that are ultra frustrating and challenging, like, I don't think we can get away from that in any job, and
Mm.
there are things that I have to manage for, like, the drain on my energy and my time when I have, like, literally 14 meetings in one day, like, back to back to back. So
Wow.
that's me a lot of strategies and tools too. I have, like, things all over my desk that help me ground and, like, recenter in between meetings when I'm just on camera all day. Um and now I've lost my train.
Wow, you do 14 some days you'll have 14 meetings back to back.
Mhm.
But see it what arises within me, if I can be direct, is like, that's fucked up. Like, I'm just like, "No." Like,
It is
that's
not the norm.
crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy, and it's not the norm, and if it was the norm, I would not allow it to sustain. Like, I have
Yeah.
to be in a peak right now, um, of of sort of 2 different types of work coming together. So, that is
Mm.
not the norm, but is also, uh, has happened definitely, like, it happens a few times a month where I'll have a day like that. I would say average would be 8 meetings in a day.
How long?
Some anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. So they do like not usually an hour. Hour would be a rarity. So on average 30 minutes.
So
So
then
like
if you're let's say, like, you're in meetings all day, right? How do you when do you get your work done? Or is,
um
like, meetings the work?
and
I s
sometimes meetings to the work. Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
I
Corporate life doesn't make sense to me. Like, I hear some of my clients too share what they do. I'm like, I don't get what do you do though? Like, it doesn't make sense to me sometimes. I feel like that world is lost on me.
well, and it doesn't have to be for everyone. And I
Yeah,
don't
but I'm
know.
curious about it. Like, I wish I could put a camera on you and just watch you all day to be like, what's really going on here? Like, what do you do?
I well, I mean, I can give you like the word of like I'm a change agent, like I'm a change management
Yeah.
consultant. So I work with companies that are rolling out initiatives, like something in the company needs to change. And like it might be a new technology platform or it might be something else, right? A change initiative. And I work with um, companies to help them define the strategy of how they are going to like make that change happen generally internally within the companies, like who are the key leaders that need to be informed,
Mm,
and then it gets just into like building the right relationships, building a lot of trust and understanding people's needs truly deeply. Like this is where like the feminine comes in because the empathy is how
yeah.
I build trust and like the ability to like sit with somebody and truly understand like what are their challenges, what's hard for them today, how can we solve some of your existing problems within the scope of this thing that is coming your way, and hey, it's not going anywhere. Like this is happening, it's coming like a freight train. So like if we all need to get on board, and how can I use this as an opportunity to solve something else that's hard for you right now? Um
Okay, okay, this makes more sense now. The meetings and because your job is inherently relational, essentially.
it is. And then there are a lot of like there are documents to go with it. Like with any corporate or consulting job, it's like, there's the emails back and forth or whatever, but then there's like when you've done a thing to get that thing approved, you have to make a deliverable, like a PowerPoint deck or something that you turn in to say, here is this thing, box checked, complete. And so there's a lot of then turning this like relational engagement and what is learned and like what happens and the timeline and turning that into visuals. So the most artistic part of
Oh,
my
that's
career is
that's
PowerPoint
tough. Is
decks.
that hard?
It's something that I have learned to enjoy probably because it's the only creative or not the only creative outlet, but it's the only artistic part of my corporate job. And so I've found ways to love and appreciate like a really clean presentation that gives you the information that you need in a visible visual way that's not overly
Mm.
busy. It's hard, not hard to follow. So
So, as women, we go through inner seasons, right? We're not as consistent as men. How do you feel like that either supports you in this structure or is a disadvantage to you in this kind of a corporate structure?
that
Like,
is a great.
do you notice like that?
I do notice I will say I'm not super great about tracking, like, my weekly like, my cycles and my weekly changes, but I'm aware enough that I can see the difference between a week where it's very easy for me to be, like, out there and driving and extroverted and making things happen, and then I have weeks where I'm like, "Why am I so tired?" But I might be extra, like, intuitive and sensing,
Mhm.
so I will say it is both, like, I can capitalize on the strengths of a given season, but I do definitely feel the strain of, like, when I'm in my quieter or more reserved periods of, like, having to keep up with the demands of work, and I do have to build myself in more just more respite time, more time between meetings, defer things that are not essential, delegate things to my team where appropriate. Um, so
And you feel like that's sustainable?
I do feel like it's sustainable as long as I believe in the work that I'm doing. Because
Yes,
I do
okay, so
get
that
energy
come
from it, right? It's like it's
yeah.
and
S
the thing I get the most energy from is truly the people. It's like if I've helped a person solve a problem, like from the client side, or have I helped my team? Like what's been so amazing about the project that I'm on right now is I have a team that's grown up and now like they're taking lead on things and I've been cultivating and mentoring a group of people who now I can be like, okay, this piece is your baby now and this piece is your baby now and now you work with a client and do those things, and I'll just come in and like drop in when you're stuck or you need oversight or like you need to polish something up.
Mm,
uh, and that's like I could do that all day long. Like that's a lot of meetings, but that's not work for me.
I see. So the important thing here is purpose is what I'm getting from that. It's feeling like the work has meaning and purpose,
Hmm.
which makes sense because as humans, that's what motivates us for anything in life.
100%. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you do have a disabled child, and I'm
Yes.
wondering how that is as a mother conditioned to be, good. Because that just feels to me like, wow, I imagine, I don't want to, well, I'll stop there because I'm already feeling into something. So I'll just leave it there. How does
I
that, yeah.
your intuition is right, Jessa. And it's less so now, but when my son was younger, like 0 to 5, there were some really hard years of judgment and misunderstanding, and this was before he was diagnosed. He has a non-visible disability, so it's neurological, it's how he thinks, how he functions, how he emotionally reacts to things, um, and there are, like, multiple co-occurring neurodivergences, and there eh, there was a lot of heartbreak, and as a younger parent in the rejection and the misunderstanding of the world not seeing my child for who they really were. But that also cracked me so wide open to, like, understanding and appreciating the diversity of the way we are as humans, that I would never want it to be different. And the older he gets, the easier it is, and the more he is appreciated. Honestly, he, like, always was wanted to be, like, a small adult, and so now that he's a teenager, um, he can function a lot more like a small adult. But, like, a lot of the overreactions and the emotional things for him were, like, just frustration of not being able to express himself properly at 6 months and 9 months and 1.5 and 3, etcetera, like, not having, like, the agency to be his own person.
Wow. I imagine you learned a lot through being there for him and supporting him through that process, like learning a lot about yourself. And maybe even I'm wondering if that influenced your relationship with your own emotions too.
It definitely helped me appreciate how important it was to allow space to express emotions. Like, especially with a son and in this, like, culture that we're in, right? And, like, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. I was not just thinking about what's acceptable for me as a woman and, the approved emotions and the not approved emotions, but also, like, what are the expectations of boys and men? And how can
Mm,
I make sure that the children that I'm raising feel like all of their emotions are there's room in our family for all of your emotions. And the world may not want to experience them. So it's like the twofold part of like, you're safe here and you can feel all of the things, and we will hold space for you in your very big feelings, whether or not they're proportional to the situation according to our perception. But if this same emotion goes out into the world and it's on the hockey rink or in the classroom,
yeah.
there will be judgment, and it will be more challenging to build social relationships, and I will get phone calls from teachers and administrators. So, yeah,
They're lucky that they have you as a mom who can walk them through these things.
I
Especially how many you have 3 children? Did I
just
just
2.
make that up? You have 2 children.
3 dogs.
Especially 3 right, 3 dogs. I'm like, those are children too.
Yeah, for
Um,
fun.
yeah, and I think it's just so important for young boys to have that role model that's like, "Hey, it's actually okay to express and feel all of your feelings."
In hindsight, I'm so grateful. I didn't I wasn't thinking about the patriarchy when he was really little and I was holding space for his emotions. At the time, it was just like, this is what my kid needs, and I'm the only space that he's got, so I'm gonna be it. But as the years have gone by and more things are just more obvious to all of us, right? Maybe it was obvious to some all along, but I kind of had my head in the sand a little bit about how
Mhm,
toxic the capitalist patriarchal structure even was and how pervasive.
mhm.
Um, like, I'm so grateful that, like, we built this foundation from the very beginning that my children feel so safe to express their emotions, and I get all of them. I get the full range.
Yeah,
But that's important for them to know it is okay to have and feel those things, and also know what the consequences might be.
yeah, and that you won't abandon them for having them. Or
No.
scold them or shame them like so many parents do. So many well-meaning intended parents as well.
that, like, just being, like, fully transparent, like, it's hard. Like, I don't I don't accept the emotions with perfect patience all the time, right? Like, if it I'm getting
Yeah, you're
angry.
not perfect.
I'm not perfect. When
Yeah.
anger's at me, I'm like, and there are times when I can't handle it, and I'll have to say, like, "Your emotion is valid, and I can't be around it right now." So I have to set my own boundaries about it, especially as they get older and more teenagery, more of this. So I definitely have to set my own boundaries or I can be triggered by their emotions. And that was actually another really huge like learning opportunity development for me with my daughter was like us triggering each other and our emotions. Um, that was a really like meaningful sort of evolution. So
Is your daughter as sensitive as you are? How old is your daughter?
she's 11 and it's honestly hard to tell how sensitive she is because she is very reserved.
Hmm.
She keeps her feelings very close, and she doesn't like to talk about it, at least not with me. She feels very safe with my husband. We have a very, like, stereotypical, like, mother-son, father-daughter, like, deep bond, and also, like, everyone is loving and everyone is great, but, like, the the first go-to parent is mother-daughter, father-son, and with me, I mean, I can't even compliment her without a reaction. Like, I don't know where it comes
Her
from.
reaction? Or
Right,
you
like, I mean, I cannot give feedback, but, like, she just doesn't want to hear anything, any opinion. So, it it's hard. I think she's really sensitive, but
can her
she's still
father compliment her?
what?
Can
Yes.
Interesting. There might
Yeah.
be some, like, unconscious stuff going on with the mother.
Probably, for sure, and,
Yeah.
like, they come in how they come in. That was another huge lesson with my son and disabilities is, like, man, like and coming 6 weeks early, like, I had all these ideas. I always wanted to be a mother, like, this was something that was
Mm.
definitely on my bingo card. I don't know why, I just, like
You
there was no version of my future that I didn't see myself becoming a mother
you
at
knew
some
that from fr
from, like,
how young did you know that?
high school, but I wasn't
Wow.
actively trying to become mother at that time.
But you always knew that that's what you wanted?
I always knew, like, and I think that I
Damn,
carry a
I'm
very,
still
like,
deciding.
mother archetype.
Yeah.
So even if I hadn't had children, I think it just would have come out in other ways, like, at my work,
Wow.
I am like, a lot of what I talked about before with my work was, like, the corporate thing, but, like, within my company, which is smaller, like, I am very much mom vibes. I'm, like, mentoring all the, like, early career, people and giving them advice and helping them deal with their managers and like their promotion paths and stuff. Like I just that is it is just who I am.
Yeah, that
But
archetype likes to express itself through you.
very much so, yes. So the idea of it and then the reality of it when it was like traumatic and he came early and my husband wasn't there and then I had I totally disassociated and then he was a hard baby who did not sleep and cried all the time and didn't sleep through the night for 18 months. I did not
Oh,
sleep for 10 years.
whoa.
Like, because of one or the other or both children.
Is that normal for mothers? Like, I don't know, I don't have
Oh,
children.
no, I don't I think, like, 14 meetings a day, it's not normal, but it's also not unheard of. Like, there's you get a good sleeper or you don't, and I didn't. So that's
That's
a whole other thing,
crazy.
like, getting enough rest and, like, to be who you are, like, to be regulated was important for me to figure
Hmm.
out too.
So I'm just gonna follow this because my curiosity is just here. Because I know you know a little bit about human design, right?
Some, yeah, yeah.
Or like astrology.
Yeah,
So
I've
like what
done my
it
line chart, but, like, I don't know what the gates and the like, I could tell you I'm a 19. I also did gene keys, and so, like,
Mhm.
I know some, but not enough
I'm
to
just
be
wondering if this is
correct.
in your like, do you have a lot of water in your chart? Because I feel like you mentioned something. Did you mention something like this to me about having a lot of water in your chart? Or
Well,
maybe
I am an air sign with a lot of Virgo placements.
wow.
Mhm. I know, right? I I could go looking for the water signs, but I don't necessarily know, like, offhand how much water is in my chart. What was most striking to me is, like, I'm an Aquarius, so I'm an air sign, but there was so much Virgo in my chart that it made me
Mm,
laugh.
that makes
Um,
sense.
it does
That
make sense.
yeah.
Like, Virgo was like, and this also makes sense probably too, like, Virgo was the sign that I most was like, "Ew, that's boring." Like, there's like,
Why?
I don't
Because
know, like,
because
now
it's
I
like
love Virgos, but, like, I don't know,
what do you
I
think
thought
that
a Virgo for me
was?
was, like, very tidy and very, like, I don't
Perfectionist.
know, very yes, just, like, very structured and very everything had to be just so, and I was just like, "Ew, I don't fit in that box." Like, no.
Mm,
Too no, I don't like
yeah,
rules. I don't bake because I don't like rules. I do not like to be told, like, what to do or, like, how to do it.
that's the Aquarius in you.
Mhm. So, like, at work, tell me the outcome you want me to reach, and let me do my, like, intuitive, like, feminine magic to get us there.
Mm,
Just trust my process, but
mhm.
don't tell me first do this and then do this and blah, 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 blah. Because 'cause I don't fit in that box.
Yeah, that because it feels, it's
Yeah.
like, it's rigid. Like, well, I mean, obviously, if you're feminine leaning, you know what I mean? Like, if you're more comfortable with the feminine. So, what
Yeah.
is your, like, version of feminine magic?
Ooh, my version.
Like, what does that look like to you, feminine
I
magic?
feel like there's so many versions of feminine magic, and it depends on, like, how it can maybe safely express in different environments. Like, feminine magic to me is, like, at its core, I think it is the ability to both perceive beyond what is seen and to deliberately, like, emote or express. Like, I
Mm,
hold a frequency, right, of, like, I need to feel grounded right now, or I want to feel like I want to project love right now. And I'm a very strong emoter. That's part of my feminine magic. That's also like not dangerous, but inconvenient when I'm feeling like a very ragey emotion or a griefy emotion. My husband's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "I just need to feel it and express it, and it needs to move through me.
mhm.
I'm just gonna be racked with sobs." And I don't want to explain why. I don't want to explain what this is about because it was like there was this one tiny trigger that went all the way through every grief I've ever felt, plus
That was
all
my
of
dog.
humanity. Like now I'm grieving like all of feminine
Yeah.
and, like, all of the repression of the feminine. Anyway,
Mhm.
that was a bit of a
No,
tangent.
no, no, that's good because 'cause you're touching on that, sometimes our emotions, they're not just ours. I mean, that's not to say, like, your emotions aren't your responsibility and that you shouldn't feel them because you always should, but sometimes they're not yours, like, they're so deep and, like, they're ancestral, and you are actually grieving for an ancestor,
Mhm.
and so it feels
100%.
like that's what you were touching on just there, like, sometimes it just feels like a deep, never-ending well.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
scary to get in there sometimes, like, and I feel like our own personal triggers or emotions sometimes are like a gateway. It's like you
yeah,
have one thing that brings it up in you, but once it's there and it's present for you, like, if you want to, you can you can
right.
go really deep or broad or everywhere with it, and that's where it's, expressing the emotions of something so much larger
Mhm.
than yourself.
Why is finding safety so important for that process? I think you mentioned a lot about safety and rest when I was checking out your website.
That is a great question. For me, I have and I forget, like, of the 9 core wounds, I forget which one it's called, but maybe it's rejection. Like, I have, like, a rejection wound or a rejection fear, and so I think it really comes from that, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who has this, where I was never harmed, but like you said, so many parents, well-meaning parents, or in so many environments don't accept strong emotions or negative emotions or whatever, that I had an imprint of what was acceptable to express versus not acceptable to express. And so those things that I felt that I got conditioned were not acceptable to express, I only could express them in a place where I felt safe, where I felt like there would not be the fear of rejection and abandonment and, like, "No, that's not safe here. We don't do that here."
Yeah.
Um, so I just have to find those, like, quiet, safe spaces in my
Right.
car or, like, locked in a room where I can't be interrupted. And I don't wanna explain myself either. Like, when you're in the depth of that, like, someone coming in and trying to logic you through, like, "Well, why are you feeling this way?
I
What's going on?"
know.
I do, and I'm like, "Yeah,
It's like, "It doesn't make fucking sense. Go
right.
away."
I just need to fall apart right now so that I can put myself back together."
Yeah. Which emotions for you do you feel like you really rejected?
Anger for sure. For
Mhm.
sure. I did not feel like I was allowed to feel anger for a long time.
Do you
And
remember there Go ahead.
oh, no, I don't remember a time that yeah, where specifically anger was unacceptable. I don't know if it was, a specific situation or if it was just like because I'm so sensitive, I just absorb the expectations and the conditioning so
Yeah.
much.
Was anger a thing in your household?
Absolutely not. Oh,
Yeah,
and so
see, that in and of
there you
itself
go.
is like
No, there was no
that
anger. You're right.
yeah.
I actually did a video about this. There was no anger in my household. Um, yeah, and
Yeah, they weren't comfortable with anger.
right, and there was also no visible sadness.
Hmm. Basically, no emotions. Well,
Well, they
what
come
emotions were positive emotions were okay, yeah, but
yeah,
no negative emotions, essentially.
right. They
Yeah,
were just visible, they weren't expressed. And I
right.
don't remember, like, being shunned necessarily or anything, right? But it was
Mhm,
what the environment around me
mhm,
was very pleasant and supportive and sweet and accommodating, uh,
right.
and my parents never once raised their voices at me in my entire life.
Wow.
That's a testament to my inner good girl and the fact that they are truly, like, pretty low key, which was beautiful, but then I did not have a model of how to express
Right,
those.
exactly.
Yeah, so I had to learn how, and then I wanted to show my children how as well, or that it was okay to.
Yeah, it really is so damaging, right? Because it's like as a human, we have a nervous system and most communication's nonverbal. So it's like we're feeling all of these things that are happening and we're sensing the emotions and reading into body language and facial expressions, but nothing's being directly expressed. Then it almost creates this gaslight of your reality because you're like, and this actually can happen at the unconscious level where you're not even aware that you're really fucking confused because you're like, I'm feeling this way, but nothing around me is like making me feel it's like I'm literally just reading in between the lines and something just feels off. Like that constant feeling of like, what? They're saying this, they're showing up this way, but something is deeply wrong. But I have no evidence or proof that something is wrong. And
That's
that's a
feminine
gaslight.
that's feminine magic, though, but we have to learn to trust that, and that's hard
Right.
without the
Well,
evidence.
right, because we had no reason to trust it. So then we go our entire life doubting our perceptions and doubting our intuition and our instincts. That's why I'm not in a relationship right now. It took me so long to really like work through this because I would just continue to get into relationships with the wrong guy, the bad guy, because I wasn't trusting myself. Even though I now know all the patterns, right? But I was still continuing to make the same mistake, knowing this time that I was making the same the
Like,
mistake,
"Oh."
but just like, "All right, I guess we're gonna do this again." And so then I just committed to being single for like almost a year now. So I think when I start dating again, it's gonna be good. But I had to like take a step back because I just noticed myself continuing to gaslight myself, doubt myself, even though I could see that I was doing it, but it was so hardwired. And I just went on a rant there.
No, that was great. Well, I think that's actually a big part of the mentorship that I do at work is for younger women in the workplace, especially women in their 20s and women of color. Like, I know
Mm,
I mean, I don't have that personal lived experience of being a woman of color, but certainly of being a young woman in the workplace, and I can see other people's perceptions of women and how they make assumptions or treat them differently or give them different jobs, like, "Oh, you take the notes in the meeting," or whatever. And
Mm.
I deliberately, like, as part of my mentorship, help them trust their intuition about how to go about things, because this is something I had to learn for myself in my work life. Um, to trust the process, that, like, just because someone's telling you to do it this way doesn't mean that's the best way. Trust your own way. Um,
Yeah.
you have to do XYZ to get their blessings and for them to let you
Mhm.
do it a couple of times. But back to what you were saying, like, that's just so critical to learn to trust our intuition, and I wonder, like, why it shows up only in relationships versus, like, in other places for you,
Yeah, it's
you know?
very relational for me. I feel like I'm very connected otherwise, but I think it's just probably because of, so much trauma, like early life trauma
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
relationships, yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
Which is
like, because what I described before was, like, indirect gaslighting, but, like, I had also on top of that very direct gaslighting where it'd be like, I'd say something and it'd be like, "What are you talking about? Like, you don't know what you're like, you don't like, that didn't just happen." It's like the classic what you see that you didn't just see, what you heard, you didn't
oh,
hear. You're making a big thing out of nothing, like, and of course, like, the really damaging one where it's like, this person in the family is clearly harmful and abusive, but of course you have to let them in and be nice to them and have a relationship with them and never think negatively about them because they're family, like, all of that kind of a thing.
and you're like, "Oh, well,
So
thank you for helping me learn healthy boundaries or not." Like,
exactly. So then I just was like, "Oh, well, going through life, it's like, oh, well, this person is treating me this way, but I love them, so I just have to keep loving them because that's what you do." Like, just really unhealthy stuff. But
it makes
it's
sense.
good because it's allowed me to connect with, I mean, I say maybe it's good, but it's like, if I just didn't have the experience I had, I would have never had to learn it because it just is innate. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of, like, spiritual bypassing shit where it's like, yeah, we are here for a human experience and it comes with all this layers of shit that we have to, like, whatever, deconstruct within ourselves to get to what's already innate. But, like, if we had better conditioning and upbringings, we wouldn't have to go through all of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just here
Oh,
all the
100%.
time.
Appreciate it and appreciate the learnings and da 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 da, but also, like, that's not right. Like, that's fucked up,
Yeah.
and that shouldn't be happening, and, like, recognizing
Yeah.
what what's okay and not okay to your own personal truth and boundaries.
Yeah. And hopefully by doing the work and healing, we can change this
Yeah.
world for those that have yet to come so that
Yeah.
it doesn't continue to be what it is.
I think we're on the right track. I do, I truly do, but I am also a relentless optimist and a change agent, so I hope
Yeah.
I think the
You're
time
designed to
yeah,
see it that way.
yeah, and that is my program. Well, which reminds me, we talked about human design. Oh, but you asked about water. What else about human design?
Well, I was curious if you knew about your human design and maybe, like, if that relates to this mothering in you, because you knew from a young age that you wanted to be a mother. So I'm just curious, like, if you came in here with that kind of a design. What's your type? 5?
Or isn't
Wait,
there like a 5.1 or a 5.2? I guess I don't know human design that well then. I
wait, are
can't
we
remember the
talking? So your type is either like a projector, a manifester, a manifesting
oh,
generator.
I'm
Are you
thinking of a
talking
man.
about the Enneagram though? Oh,
Mm,
okay.
I think it was like a 5.1 or a 5.2. I think it was a different part of the human
Oh, you're
design.
talking about
Human manifest
the
together.
lines.
Yes, I was
Um,
thinking of the lines. Yes,
what
yes.
line? You're a 5 what?
I think I'm a 5. I'm a 5 something.
So am
I think we were
I.
both 5s, but
I'm
different
a
no,
5-1. Oh,
then
then
I'm a
you're a
5.
5-2?
I think so, yeah, because I
You're the
remember
pro
that from our yeah,
Okay, yeah.
but I'm pretty sure I'm a manifesting generator. I am, like,
Okay.
from here up is open, like, throat up, and I've had to do a lot of learning about, like, over talking or processing out loud, like, that was something I shamed myself for because I got a lot of feedback for it in my work life of, like, saying too much, oversharing, over speaking, and like
Oh,
learning like
really?
what is the right amount to share, like not to just dump everything on somebody because I'm authentic and I'm truthful and I'm an open book and then blah, here's everything. So I had to learn like what's the right amount of sharing. Because yeah, I know that I'm open in this
In your
like
throat.
human design chart, open in the throat, open in the crown, third eye, all open from here up. But I think I'm all closed from heart down.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? They say that people with the open throat, if they're around people with defined throat, they'll like they'll kind of like almost it's almost like, "Oh, finally, like an outlet," and they, like, will overshare. Something about being around defined throats, like, almost as a permission slip. This is something I looked into a long time ago, so something about that, though.
Yeah. That would
I
be interesting.
wonder it, like,
Yeah.
releases pressure or something.
I could totally see that. Yeah, or like it's like to me, clothes it feels like container. So it's like then it's like this
Yeah.
unformed open throat has a place to put the thing,
Right.
like it's a place for it to be held in
Yeah,
a
that's
sense.
exactly it.
Yeah.
Do you
Whether or
feel
not that
like
person wants it or intends it.
Yeah. Mine's defined, so
Well, good. Well,
but I
that
found
makes
that
sense in your job too. Or I don't know if you're still doing therapy.
so to close out, what does it look like to live life as a labor of love?
To me, it's similar to what I said in terms of like the feminine magic, which is like to both receive, turn the nourishment that we give to everyone else into ourselves, and then also have that be like a self fulfilling cycle that we then have that nourishment to give back out into the world, whoever
Mm.
are the people that we want to nourish.
I love that. So if anybody wants to look into your labor of love retreat, I'll link the website down below.
It's just going to be a really fun time with no pressure and no obligations, but a lot of opportunities to go deep and be gentle and be playful. And I'm really excited to see the women that it calls in that we can be on this journey together.
In Northern California, right? It's
California,
is
Sonoma.
beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah, Sonoma
Mm.
wine. Mhm. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Alicia. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. It was great chatting with you today.